G'day mate, Clint Anderson here from Down Under Horsemanship, and I'd like to welcome you to our brand new colt starting supplement series. And the reason why I call it a supplement series is because it's basically a supplement to go along with our fundamentals kit, okay? There's basically 4 levels to the Down Under Horsemanship program. Fundamentals, intermediate, advanced, and the last level is professional. A lot of the exercises we're going to be doing in this colt starting series is on the fundamental series, but there's also going to be some additional exercises that are really specified towards, starting colts, how to saddle them for the first time, how to ride them for the first time, making sure you're safe when you get on them, making sure you're safe when you get around these horses. So it's very, very important, as far as I'm concerned, that before you actually go out there and start to break a colt in, whether it's a wild one like this one here, and I'll tell you a little bit about him in a second, or it's what I call a backyard domesticated colt, like a quiet one, it's extremely important that you've watched the fundamental series. You understand the DVDs, the groundwork, the riding, you know how to use the arena mates, and preferably you're reasonably proficient with the fundamental level. If you understand the whole fundamental series and know how to do it to a regular domesticated horse, when you actually start work with a wild colt like this one, or even something a little bit quieter, it'll be relatively easy, okay? So it's very, very important that you always refer back to that fundamental series, okay? That's why we call it a colt starting supplement. It's a supplement to the fundamentals kit. Basically, colt starting, in Australia we call it breaking in, and over here in the States we call it colt starting, but it's something that I pretty much learnt my whole apprenticeship around, is starting colts. I work for what I consider the best colt starting guy in Australia, called Gordon McKinley. And, I still call him what I call King of the Round Pen. I never met anybody still to this day that had the ability to get into a round pen with a wild horse, and within 45 minutes to an hour, he's got this horse caught, saddled, quiet, and almost ready to get on. And it was always amazing to me how quickly he could communicate with a wild horse. And so he showed me all of my colt starting skills. Everything that I'm going to show you in this particular series, Gordon McKinley showed that to me. And he's a phenomenal man when it comes to wild horses and getting them tame and quiet and getting inside of their head rather than fighting with them. One thing that Gordon really instilled in me from an early age is basically being safe around colts. Safe around horses in general, but especially starting colts, okay? And especially wild horses like this one, like a wild Mustang. In Australia we call them Brumbies. When I left high school when I was 15 and I started my full-time apprenticeship with Gordon McKinley, for the first 2 years of my apprenticeship, I broke in over 600 horses under his guidance. And the majority of these 600 horses were pretty wild. We call them Brumbies in Australia, but anywhere from 3-year-old to 8-year-old that never been touched. When I do a colt starting series, I always want to make sure that I don't ever leave out any valuable information that could possibly get somebody hurt if I don't, mention all the details. Well, one way you can do that for sure is by using a wild horse. By using a wild horse, I absolutely have to do every step correctly, because especially I'm going to be the one getting on him. So you can guarantee if I'm climbing on his back, he better be safe, he better be broke, and he better be ready. Most people that are going to watch this series are not going to start a wild Mustang like this one. They're going to have what I call a domesticated colt, which is, your backyard 2 or 3-year-old who's been raised around human beings. He's relatively quiet, kind of a backyard pet, so to speak. That's going to be the majority of horses. Here's the good news. If you can understand all the concepts about what I'm doing with a wild Mustang, when you try to do all these same exercises with a domesticated, quiet backyard colt, it's very, very easy. Okay, but just don't be fooled. Just because you can do a backyard type horse that's pretty quiet, you get in the pen with something like a horse like this and it's a whole nother ball game. Okay, I can guarantee you of that. So you're going to see me constantly refer back to in every exercise the differences or different approach that I may have to make between a wild horse and a quiet domesticated one. This colt here, he's a 4-year-old gelding. He came out of Wyoming. We picked him up just a couple of days ago, and he's pretty wild, okay? He's a 4-year-old. You can see he smashed up the front of his face when we went up to pick him up. I got him from the BLM in Oklahoma, and he smashed up his face when we were trying to sort him out in the pen. So he's very wiry. You can see just him, as I'm standing here, he's constantly running around the whole time. He's sweating, he's nervous. So he's pretty wild, that's for sure. But basically, what I want to show you here is if you prepare a horse to be ridden, usually 9.5 times out of 10, you're not going to get up into any sort of a wreck when you ride the horse. Another one of my mentors in Australia, Ian Francis, he had a little saying. He'd say, you know what, there's a lot of heroes in the graveyard, which meant there are a lot of people that shouldn't have got on a colt to ride because he wasn't quiet, he wasn't ready, he wasn't safe, and that horse ended up bucking him off, okay, and getting him hurt. So what we're going to do is we're going to ride him when he's ready. Not in 2 days, not in 1 day. I don't know how long it's going to take before we actually get on him and ride him. But whatever happens, we're going to do it and make sure it's safe. We're going to make sure the horse understands the lessons before we move on to the next one. You're going to see me use a variety of tools during this colt starting series here, okay? I'm going to use a plastic bag on the end of my stick. I'm going to use a lariat. I'm going to use the stick and the string, a long line, a halter and lead rope. So I'm going to use a variety of tools, and I'm going to show you why we use those tools at each particular step. So if you've got a backyard colt that's pretty quiet, this first step's going to be pretty easy, isn't it? Like, I just can't walk up to him and put a halter on him, okay? So it's not going to be that easy just to get a halter on him. So I'm going to have to teach him how to round pen, change directions, follow me around. I'm going to have to eventually get up to him, start rubbing him. Everything we do with this gelding is going to be completely new to him. So he's going to be very frightened of everything that happens. Remember, horses have a flight or fight reaction. Horses' first reaction is to run or flight from danger, run away. If they can't run away, the next option is to fight. It's very, very important that you understand the philosophy book in your fundamentals kit. Understand what makes horses tick and why they do the things that they do, both good behavior or bad behavior. You know, right now he's using the reactive side of his brain. He's nervous, he's running around, he's upset. I want to eventually get him using the thinking side of his brain where he's not upset, he's not running around, he is calm. So everything we do to him initially is going to be quite a shock to his system. You know, he spent 4 years not in captivity, completely wild, no halters, no lead ropes, no people. So just even this confined area of a round pen is new to him, that's for sure. Now to get him in here, it's not like we just let him in here. So how did we get him into this round pen in the middle of the arena? Well, I just got Diaz and we just led Diaz out and had him just kind of follow a broke horse into the round pen. So sometimes I'll get that question at a tour or a clinic. They'll say, Clinton, you know, I've got this horse and I can't even get a halter on him. And I'll say, well, put him in the round pen and teach him how to round pen and face up to you and follow you around. And they'll say, well, I can't even get him into the round pen. He's not even halter broke. Well, usually you'll find if you just get a quiet horse and let him buddy up, and you lead the quiet horse away and just maybe get 2 or 3 people behind the horse and around it, they'll kind of just follow that other broke horse into whatever round pen or stockyards you've got so that you can start working with him. You can't break a horse in like this out in a big field. You need a confined area to where you can start to build his confidence, gain his respect, and get him using the thinking side of his brain. I'm in a 50-foot round pen right now. I like a round pen that's 50 feet in diameter, okay? Any bigger than 50 feet, I find that you do too much running around. You, the human being, do too much running around. It's exhausting. Any smaller than 50 feet, okay, I find that it's too hard for the horse to canter around. And especially with a wild horse like this one, you don't want to have a little teeny little round pen because that means that you're closer to him and ultimately you're going to be putting a lot more pressure on the horse. The more pressure you put on the horse, the bigger chance the horse has got of jumping over the fence, okay, running into panels, etc. You know, he already smashed into the fence when we went to pick him up, you know, below his right eye. You can see it's kind of a little bloody there and a cut on his face. So I don't want to have him crashing into the fences anymore, okay? I'm not saying he's not going to, but I'm going to try to cut that down as best I possibly can, okay? So those are the reasons why we're using a Mustang, so that we're thorough. We make sure we get every step involved. We make sure that you follow along with arena mates as we constantly go through every exercise. You're going to hear me refer back to, well, this exercise is in the arena mate booklet number 4 or booklet number 5, or this is in the philosophy booklet, you know, chapter 5, page 58. I'm going to refer back to that stuff a lot so that you know you can follow along with your arena mates as you're watching this DVD series. You can be following along with your arena mates and taking some notes down so that way when you get out with your horse, it's going to be a lot simpler, okay? So I think at this point, mate, we'll just get started and get in the middle of it. Well, mate, I've got to be able to catch this horse, okay? But before I can catch him, I need to get control of his feet and get him to respect me and try to get him to use the thinking side of his brain, okay? You can obviously see that he's very, very frightened and kind of wound up. And the majority of time while I was talking to you guys, I was kind of backed up there against the fence. The reason I did that is so that he wouldn't just keep running around and around, okay? So right now, what I need to do is start to get control of his feet and get him to use the thinking side of his brain. So basically, I'm really going to try my best to follow the round pen series, okay, on the fundamentals kit, just following along with the round pen DVDs and also following around with the arena mates as well, okay? And that is in booklet number 1. So to begin with, I don't want to overpressure this horse, okay, when I first step in the round pen, especially a wild horse like this. Now, I'm aware of this with even a domesticated horse. I don't just step straight in the round pen and start whipping and chasing them around, because if they're very sensitive, they might try and jump over the fence. You know, this fence is a 6-foot high fence. It's 50 feet in diameter, 6 feet high, okay? So, you know, is it possible that they can jump over a 6-foot high fence? The answer is yes. It's not common, but they can do it, okay? So if I would just come straight in here and start putting a bunch of pressure on him, he might smash into the fence, he might jump over the fence, okay? Who knows what's gonna happen? So step 1 in the round pen is what? Establish direction. Just let him go around. Okay, remember that drive line? That line, you know, if there was a saddle on him, where that girth is right now, imaginary girth, is the drive line. When I'm behind that girth, I'm driving him forward. When I step in front of that drive line, like this, you see how it makes him stop and change directions, okay? So step 1 in the round pen is establish direction. So because he's got a lot of fear associated with him, and he's worried and he's reactive, I'm not going to have to really put a lot of pressure on him to get him to move. I did like the fact that he started licking his lips there. That's one of the 5 signs of relaxing, when a horse licks their lips, okay? So now I'm going to start slapping my lariat on my leg. See, just slapping it a little bit made him kind of bolt around there and canter, didn't it? So I've got to just get him desensitized to objects that move and make a noise. And guess what? I am an object, I move and I make a noise. So to this horse, everything in the world is going to be frightening to him. So it's my job to show him that, number 1, I'm not out to hurt him. I'm not out to get him. He needs to respect me, but he doesn't need to fear me. So I'm going to almost be a nagging mother with him a little bit and be flapping this against my leg and get him to be where he just kind of gets dull to it. Now, typically, if it was a cold-blooded horse or a domesticated colt, what do we do to make him canter? We point. If they don't go, what do we do then? Cluck, and then we spank, okay? Well, he's so sensitive and reactive that I certainly don't need to be spanking on him to get him to move, okay? So if you've got more of a cold-blooded colt, this part of it's going to be relatively easy as far as catching them, okay? But you may have a little tougher time getting them to actually move out. That's where, again, I would refer back to the DVDs and the fundamentals kit, okay? Because the horses we used in that series were not anywhere near as wild as this particular horse. So step 1 is establish direction. So I just want to start whacking this lariat against my leg here, just kind of getting him to where he doesn't overreact to everything in the world, okay? Step number 2 is get the horse to stop and turn to the inside, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step in front of that drive line, walk backwards, backwards, good boy. And he turned in and went the other way, okay? So that was a great turn. So even though I'd like to get up and catch him, that's not my goal right now. My goal is to get control of his feet. My goal is to get him not to be reactive. And my goal is to get him to use the thinking side of his brain. And I'm going to do that by getting his feet to move forwards, backwards, left and right. Now, do you notice when he changed directions, he started cantering again and kind of getting nervous about it? Remember, new side means what? New brain. Horses think, smell, react differently on each side of their brain. They think differently, they react differently. So on his right side, he almost seems a little wilder, doesn't he, than on his left side. Don't think about trying to change directions until you've got the horse confidently going the direction you want. I'm just flapping this on my leg here. Eventually, this is not going to bother him. Right now it is, so I almost want to be in a desensitizing category right now. Now I'm going to change directions here in a second. Remember, to change directions, what do? You step out in front of a drive line, you hold your imaginary lead line on like I'm pulling on a lead rope, and then you step back. Back. Good boy. Now, you've probably often heard me say this at tours all over the country, that the easy horses to get to do the round pen exercise, believe it or not, is actually the wild ones like him, because he's very aware of where I am. He's always got his eyes on me, and he's always watching me. sometimes some of the hardest colts to get to turn into you and pay attention to you are the ones that are very quiet, because they've been let get dull and lazy and belligerent, and they couldn't care less about you. Okay, so he made 2 changes of direction there quite well. What do you notice a little bit different on this side? I'm flapping this lariat on my leg, and he doesn't seem to be cantering and overreacting. Plus, he's starting to lick his lips a little bit more. So step 1, establish direction. Step 2, establish a direction to the inside. And now step 3 is establish a consistent change of direction. Step in front, step back. Good boy. Now, of course, if he would have turned into the fence, I would have gone and chased him back, just like right there. Okay? That's a perfect example. Right there. He turned into the fence just then, and I went to cut him off. And when I went to cut him off, as he got closer to me, he got panicked, and then he tried to jump over. So you notice I made a bigger angle and started again. That's what I'm saying. These wild horses are like deer on crack, okay? They're sensitive. You can't cram them in a situation. See how he just turned? Gotta go back. That's it. I just want him to trot around here. Now typically, I normally want him to canter. On the fundamental series, when I'm doing this exercise, I make a big deal of getting him to canter. So if you've got a cold-blooded or a really quiet colt that's kind of lazy, make sure they canter. With him, it's the complete opposite. I'd rather him trot, good boy, and just take his time, because he already wants to run and panic. So if I can, I just want him to do the whole exercise at the trot. If he's a domesticated colt, I want him to canter a lot in the beginning, because cantering is going to get those feet moving. You're going to constantly hear me talk about the differences between a wild horse like him and a domesticated colt. And I'm going to do this throughout the whole series so that you can understand the differences. It's still the same exercise, but a lot of the time how I approach the exercise, or where my starting point is going to be significantly different between a horse like him that's never been touched by humans. Okay, now see here, he cut into the fence. I didn't ask him to, and I cut him off. But you notice that time I made a much bigger angle to hopefully ensure that he didn't try and jump over the fence and hurt himself. Okay, so that's what I'm talking. If I would have cut him off on a narrow angle, I guarantee he would have tried to jump out again. So the fact that he's kind of licking his lips there's some good signs. He's kind of trotting. So I'm working on step 3 now in the round pen, is a consistent change of direction. Yeah. Remember to refer back to your round pen arena mates. Okay, be watching them, be reading them and taking notes on it as you see me doing this. Okay. I just want to be moving this around a little bit more now. I love it if he just get dull and ignore me. Step in front, back, back, good boy. So I'm looking for a nice change of direction. Now he went the wrong way again. There we go, that was better. So I'm going to start to do some figure 8s now, to where I can get him changing directions. Now if your horse is really quiet, you would probably use the stick and string, point, cluck and spank to make the horse go forward, okay? Or you might chase him with the plastic bag a little bit and use some of that fear to your advantage. Because he's sensitive, I don't need to do those things. There we go. Good boy. Okay. You can't fight with these wild horses. They're too big. They're too strong. Gordon McKinley taught me that. He said, you know, you want to fight with a wild Brumby or wild Mustang, you're going to be on a losing battle because they're too strong. All they're going to do is hurt you or hurt themselves. And I don't want either one. Remember, what's my goal when I train a horse? First goal is I don't want to get hurt. My second goal is I don't want the horse to get hurt. And then my third goal is I want to teach the horse something. Love that, him licking his lips. So he's now just starting to use the thinking side of his brain. So I'm still on step 3 in the round pen, is changing directions. There we go. Notice now I'm not having to step back quite as much to get him to change either. Change directions. As soon as I step in front of the drive line, I want to go back and have him immediately turn in. Now eventually when he gets really quiet, he'll run up to me. Okay, you remember in the fundamentals series when I'd step out in front of the horse, out in front of Mindy, and ask him to come in, the horse trots all the way up to me. That's eventually what he'll do. He's not going to do it today, but that's eventually what he's going to do. So I'm still on step 3. Every time he tries to change directions, unless without me asking him, I'm going to correct him for that. So I like that. At least now I can slap the lariat on my leg. He's not cantering around. Every time I step in front and step back, I'm pulling on that imaginary rope right now to get him to look in. There. Okay, that's the boy. Now see how he just changed directions? That's what I'm talking about. Whenever he does that, just send him back on again. Always want him turning into you. Remember, 2 eyes is always better than 2 heels. 2 eyes is always better than 2 heels. There. I love that, how he's feeling a little bit more confident to come through the center. See how I'm getting just a little bit closer to him. Okay, all the time, he's getting in closer to me and not feeling quite so threatened. Okay, and then step 4 in the round pen is get the horse to stop, turn, and face you. And step 5 is getting him to what? Follow you around the round pen. So I'm really doing the same exercise as what I would in the fundamental series, except because he's wild, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on him. The more sensitive the horse, okay, and the more reactive they are, the less pressure you can put on them to get it, well, less pressure you'll have to put on to get them to move. Okay, if they're dull and lazy and cold, you're gonna have to put a lot of pressure on. That's it. Excellent. There we go. So what I'd like to do now is see if I just can't give him a little bit of a rest here. But I don't want to rest him there, unless he's giving me 2 eyes. Okay, we're not done by any means, but I want to see if I could get him. And he may not be ready for it, so I'll have to change. Just get him to turn and face me and stop. Right there. Right there. But he may not be ready to stop just yet. I'd like him to figure out where that air is. Okay, so when he keeps turning like that, I'll just go back and restart him again. Just do some figure 8s. And if that doesn't work, I'll think of something else to do. There we go. Catch his eyes here. There we go. I want him to figure out there's a place he can rest. If he just gives me 2 eyes, there we go. If he just gives me 2 eyes, I'll take that pressure off him. He's not trying to be bad right now. There. He just doesn't know what to do. My job's to show him. I just keep trying to get in his way. I'm just getting in his way. Oh, that's a good little sign there. See him shaking his head? That's not shaking it out of frustration. He's kind of like, you know what? Something's trying to happen here. Right there. Keep walking away. Kind of had him, but see, he's not looking at me, so I can't let him rest. They only get their air when they're giving you 2 eyes. Right there. Oh, he was close, wasn't he? He almost stopped. Right there. Notice when he looks at me, what do? Okay, everybody hold your breath and nobody make a single sound. This is what I wanted right here. Him just to relax and think. Now I'm backed up here, you know, against the, he moved again. So go set him up again. I just want him, there we go. Oh, this is really good. So I'm just going to kind of creep over here towards the fence to try to release some of that pressure. I want him to say, you know what, if I give him 2 eyes, I get to have a rest. When I take my eyes off him like now, I have to move my feet. If I look at him, I get to have a rest. There we go. There we go. So I'm just trying to get him to break the lesson up into a few little steps here. Remember, when you're establishing a starting point with a wild horse like this, it's not the same starting point you've got with a domesticated horse. Catch his eye, go to his hip, catch his eye, right there. I want him to think, you know what, this guy's not real bright. All I got to look at him and he walks away from me and takes that pressure away. You want him to realize that looking at you means safety. Turning into the fence, jumping over the fence, showing you his butt means hard work. Okay, rightio, let's move on a little bit here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take my bag, okay, and my stick out of the round pen right now, because there's going to be different times when he's going to get close to the middle and I don't want him to get spooked by him at a crucial part there, okay? So what he's doing here, or what he was doing, is kind of what I'm looking for. I just would like him just to stop and just look at me here and just give me 2 eyes and kind of not realize that he has to keep running around. But he's not wanting to cooperate too much as far as he's wanting to keep moving his feet. So if that's the case, I'm going to go back and put his feet back to work again, okay? But not only that, I'm going to start to do a few other things to him that might help him a little bit here, get used to me just a little bit here. I'm just going to throw my lariat at him and see if I can't get him used to just things moving around him a little bit, just throwing things at him, okay? He's got to get used that not everything in the world is out to get him, okay? So I'll throw the lariat at him and just get him comfortable at things kind of coming towards him, okay? I'm not trying to necessarily hit him, but I'm just trying to get things to touch him, okay? The more things you can get to touch your horse, the better they get, okay? But see, I'm touching him from a distance, not getting real close to him to begin with. And every time this lariat comes near him and he doesn't get hurt, well, of course it builds his confidence, but he realizes that nothing bad is going to happen to him. Now I use a lot softer rope than what you'd see. How there he changed directions on me when I wasn't paying attention. I use a lot softer rope than what you would if you're, you know, a header or a heeler. Those ropes are a little bit too aggressive and too stiff for working with a horse. They take the hair off him too much, okay? So this rope is a lot softer. Bad part is it gets more kinks in it a little quicker, but it doesn't burr up the horse, okay? There we go. Let's get them used to that. There. Not too bad. I'll change directions. See how he turned into the fence? Start it again. It's always got to turn in. Always turn in. Now it's very important to use leather gloves when you're working with a lariat, especially when you actually get that rope on your horse. He might take off and give you some pretty bad rope burn, okay? I like the gloves that we sell. They're very, very strong, but they're very pliable. A lot of ladies use them in the clinics and things as well, okay? So I'm just getting him used to something coming through the air. I'm desensitizing him at a distance. Everything that touches him is going to be new to begin with. Just want to get to where nothing bothers him as much. Now what I'm starting to do is throw it a little bit more forward so that Eventually it'll hopefully lay over his back a little bit when I do this. Okay? Kind of like that a little bit. Change directions. Lots. Oh, I love that. Now see what he just offered me then? I'm going to take that, what he just did. I was going to, well, got to put him back to work. I was going to ask him to change directions, and I did. But as I changed, I noticed that he kind of wanted to stop and look at me, and he wasn't as inclined to want to keep running. That's a great sign. So I let him rest there a little bit. I let him realize, hey, you don't have to run. Just take your time. Nobody's getting after you. Okay? Nobody's getting after you. So I like what he did there as far as kind of stop and give me two eyes. It didn't last very long. Okay. There, see how that stayed on his back? Just a little bit longer. Change directions. Don't turn it in the fence. Don't turn it in the fence. Always send him back the original way. Oh, he turned it in the fence. Cut him off. So I'm working on my change of direction still. There, right there. Right there. Good boy. I walked away from him just kind of hoping that he might wanted to stop and just stand still and face me. But he didn't. That's all right. Caught on one ear there a little bit. Just licking his lips some more, that's good. Right there, right there. See what I did? I walked away from him. Put a little pressure on him again. He's giving me two heels. Oh, I like that. Right there. I just like him to just stop. Now, I like the fact that he's got his leg cocked there. That's a sign of relaxing. Remember the 5 signs of relaxing? Lowering their head and neck, cocking their hind leg, licking their lips. He's doing that now. Taking a big breath, a sign. He moved on, so I got to move him now. I want him to realize the only place where he gets rest is when he's giving you two eyes. And I'm never letting him turn into the fence. Never let that happen. Because then they just get in the habit of it and get worse. Just kind of what I wanted right there. Gordon McKinley taught me this little trick. This is what you call Australian roping, which is you rope them, but you're not committed. There we go. I just need him to wear that a little bit. See how I wrap it around his neck a little bit? Ah, there we go. There we go. Just let him stop and wear it. See, when you throw a rope on a wild horse, you're committed at that point, okay? When you just wrap it around their neck like this, two things. Number one, you're not really choking down on them and putting a ton of pressure on them. They're getting to wear it. And number two, if I want to get out of this, I just keep flipping it over his head until he unravels himself. Okay? That's why I like to use a 14-foot lead rope. A 45-foot rope. And I like to get it around enough times to where they don't undo themselves. Now I'm just going to pull on it there. Now see what I just did then? Is as I pulled on the rope to get him to turn in, he doesn't know what ropes mean. I stepped out in front of him at the exact same time. And he already knew that when I step in front of the drive line, that means give two eyes. So I kind of did two things at the same time and kind of snuck it on him. So watch, I'm going to step out in front and pull there at the same time. Pull, just a little bit here. Pull, I'm out in front of him, watch. Watch him turn, there it is, and release. Okay. Now watch. Now see how it got under his belly there a little bit? That's all right, I'll just let him touch that a little bit. See, this is why I use the rope. It's all right, I don't want to pull too hard and get him in a wreck here, and I don't want to pull so hard that I take any hair off him. That's why I use this soft rope. But see how I'm touching him under his belly here? I'm putting the girth on him right now. And he didn't like that too much, did he? And they especially don't like this up around their legs. So I just let him wear this stuff. And I like to get a little bit of this kind of kick and snot out of him from a distance like this. And see how I'm not pulling, I'm in a fight here. He's having a little hissy fit and he's got his knickers in a knot because he doesn't like things touching him all over his body. And guess what, buddy? This is the real world. You're gonna have a saddle on you soon. You're gonna have me all over you. You're gonna have a saddle pad. You're gonna have a girth. You're gonna have classic Hugon Legacy boots. You're gonna have all kinds of stuff all over you. So you better just accept the fact that this is life. But notice I'm not pulling, I'm not in a fight with him. I'm not like, you sorry thing, and okay. See, you notice every time he kicks, he doesn't get rid of it. I just keep it above his hocks. The only thing I don't like about this situation, I wish I had a little bit more rope here. Okay. And I'll start moving it around here. And I'm just playing around here. I'm just saying, hey, what do you think about the jump rope? You like that jump rope around your butt? He says, hell no, I hate this. It's new, feels weird. But notice it's not, because it's not hurting him, he'll eventually get quiet about it. That's a boy. And then I just pick up my rope again. Now I like that. That was the first time I pulled and he didn't react. The second time he did though. There we go. There we go. Oh, I like that. I like that. Oh, now I love that there. I'm just going to drop the rope and walk away from him there. Okay. What I liked about that is I did not ask him to turn and face me just then. Okay, he did that by himself. and he was looking for a place to rest. And as soon as he gave me the 2 eyes, I walked away. Now I dropped the rope so I could get further away from him and not make him feel so threatened, okay? But notice I walk away. Often if I didn't have the cameras, I wouldn't face you, but I'll often look out of the round pen. I'll cock my leg. I just act very passive. Remember active and passive body language in the philosophy book and the fundamentals level? Okay, it's chapter 9. So read that and make sure you understand, okay, how horses think. Get inside their mind. There. So even though I'm way on the other side of the round pen, what I like is that he's finally just standing still and not running around. That's initially what I was after initially, but he wasn't real cooperative about it. So I tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to just let him rest here as long as he wants to for the next, say, 10 minutes. And I'm just going to stand here. Now, if he starts to move around, we're going to go back to moving his feet again and go walking him again. But as long as he wants to give me 2 eyes, I'm going to let him get that air. But if he starts looking away and walking away, he has to go back to work. So he rested for a couple of minutes and then he started moving around again. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to go put him back to work again. Now I'm going to start to pull on his neck here just a little bit here and get him used to some of that feeling here a little bit around his neck. He's got to eventually have a halter on him. Okay, he's got to eventually have things pulling on him. Right there. I'm just going to see if I can get a little bit more rope in my way. Just going to move him. It's a boy. Okay. Getting a couple more wraps around his neck. Like that. Oh, almost got it. Okay, so watch how I'm going to get him to face me with the rope. You ready? I'm going to step out in front and at the same time, there, pull on the rope. Good boy. I love that. He's licking his lips. Sometimes I'll kneel down like this and look a little less threatening. I'll turn my back to him. I don't want to be threatening to him right now. Okay? I just want him to figure out 2 eyes means oxygen. Look at Clinton. So now I've let this horse rest now for about 10, almost 15 minutes. Most of the time he's been pretty good about just stopping and giving me 2 eyes like he is now. A couple of times he's walked off, so I've kind of pulled on the rope, stepped out in front of him and got him to turn in. That's what I love about teaching him how to round pen first. I never put a rope on a horse, whether you throw a lariat around their neck permanently or you wrap it around like I've done, okay? I never do that to him until I've taught him how to change directions really well. Because what I do is I kind of wean him onto the rope from no rope, meaning that when I step out in front and ask him to change directions, he knows that when I step out, that means turn in. Well, at that exact same time, I pull on the rope. So he starts association. I get it. When I feel the rope tighten around my neck, I got to give him 2 eyes. And that's how I kind of wean him onto it, okay? So he's kind of caught on now, but if he looks at me like he is now, he's got his leg cocked, he gets to relax a little bit, it's pretty good. Now what I'm going to start to do is see if I can't get him to just face up a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at his hindquarters here and pull there and kind of pull there. And every time he swings that hindquarters away from me, I'm going to release the pressure. So I'm going to, it's kind of like yield the hindquarters stage 1. Okay? There, I like that. See how he just completely turned and faced me? That's good. So now I'm going to go into this hang on a second here. Pressure, pressure. Let's see what he does. Oh, I love that. See how he swung his hindquarters away and gave me 2 eyes? That was perfect what he did. He was a little confused. But watch my timing on the rope. Pressure, pressure. I'm looking at his hindquarters. I'm trying to push him away. Pressure. He's thinking about running. There, release that pressure when he gives it up. Pressure, pressure, pressure. There, release the pressure. Pressure, release. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to this hip. Pressure, pressure, release. I want him to figure out, you know what? This is interesting. All I've got to do is turn and look at him. He stops pulling. Pressure. Oh, I lost my rope. Okay. And if that happens, it's not the end of the world. Okay, a couple of things you can do. You can either go back and just throw it over his back and wrap it around his neck again and do what I was doing, or I might as well just do this now. Go ahead and permanently rope them, as far as put it around their neck permanently. Okay? What I liked about what I did earlier is that you're kind of not committed when you do that. You know, when you throw it around their neck with a lariat, you are committed. You've got to get up to them sometime to get that off, okay? You don't want to leave it on them overnight because they might wrap it around a post and choke themselves, okay? So it's very, very important. But what I like to do is when you first start swinging a rope, a horse might get frightened of it. So I teach him a little trick to where I can swing it around and it makes a noise. There. As soon as he looks at me, I stop swinging it. Now swing it again. There. As soon as he looks at me, stop swinging it and walk away. And kind of teach him, if he wants to get away from that noise, there. Okay. Oh, my timing was a little slow just then. Pressure. There, release. He didn't necessarily turn in as good as I want, but he did look in. Pressure. Right there, release it. And I don't want him to learn that he has to run every time he sees a rope being swung. There we go. Now, even though he's looking at me now, I want to just see if I can, I'm just swinging it to get him used to it. Okay, nothing in particular. Yeah, I like that. He didn't move that time. Retreat. Okay, so I'll be the first person to tell you that I am not very handy with a rope as far as roping anything. I don't rope cattle and I can barely rope a horse. Most Australians are like me. They couldn't rope the ground if I stand on the roof of their house. But one thing's for sure, don't put the rope on until you've got them understanding how to face you. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I like that, how he kind of took a step towards me just then. Rightio. Okay. I may not be the classiest roper in the world, but I got it on. There we go. I like that. So, if you're not a very good roper like me, how do you get the rope on? However you can, okay? Find one of your roping buddies to come over and rope it. Or do what I used to do a lot in Australia, was just wrap it around their neck, and that's how I'd eventually use it and get up to them, okay? So throw it on them, get the rope on them, and then go from here. The only good part about having it permanently around their neck is that it doesn't slip off right when you need it. Pick up, there, release. So now I'm going to go straight back to teaching him to give me two eyes. I'm walking around to his hip. Now if he walks off like that, two eyes please. So my next goal is just to get him giving me two eyes. Watch. I'm going to pick up, hold, release. As soon as he looks at me, release it. And I may have to go from side to side depending on what he's doing. Pick up, there, get that hindquarters to swing away. Pick up, there. because this is step one. I've got to teach him what the rope means. There we go. See how he walked off just then? There we go. Pick up. There we go. That's a boy. So I'm trying to kind of get him off the fence, and I'd like him to be in the center of the round pen and me on the outside. Kind of like what's happening now, just a little bit. Pressure, release. Pressure, pressure, release. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. Horses don't learn from pressure, do they? They learn from the release of it. It's in the philosophy book, okay? That's a boy. So I'm trying to go around to his hindquarters and get him to yield it. Now I don't see how he just brought his front end towards me just then, so I just go back the other way. Pick up, hold it, release it. Just like that. It's just a concept of when you feel the pressure around your neck, go ahead and give me two eyes. Now I can get it up on the side of his face here a little bit. Oh, I like that just then. He swung that butt away. I'm trying to get him to swing his hip away and give me two eyes without me having to use the rope much. The rope's kind of an insurance plan. There we go. Here, here, here. Watch when I release. Always when I get two eyes. See how I open up my hand? Pressure, release the pressure. Pressure, pressure, release the pressure. So he's not as good on this side, is he? I want that hindquarters to there, swing away. That was better. Now see how he's backing up here? As long as he was giving me two eyes, I didn't pull. I only pulled when he went to turn. See, like right now, there. Right. When he was backing up, I did not pull on the rope. He was already technically giving me two eyes. That would have just made him feel more trapped and claustrophobic. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. So what I'm going to start to do is try to just start getting in closer to him all the time, and do two things. Narrow his bubble down, but he'll let me in. And two, get him better about yielding his hindquarters and giving me two eyes. So this is kind of the closest I've got to him so far. Right there. Right there. So I just keep messing with this. I change sides pretty frequently. Just whatever the horse kind of offers me, I kind of go with. See, if they get ahead of me though, then I will go the other way. What do I mean by ahead of me? If they turn and block me. Now I like what he just did then, well, not right at the end, but just before that, he yielded his hindquarters a few steps by himself. Pressure, release. Watch my hands. Pressure, release. They quickly open up. That's how you get a horse light. Release that pressure quickly. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. Now this is the closest I've got to him. So if I could just get him to just stand here for 30 seconds, I'd like that. Notice that my shoulders are tipped away. I've got my leg cocked. I'm trying to have a very passive body language. I just want him to realize I can get up close and I'm not going to do anything to you. That's it. Pressure. See what he does here. Oh, I like what he just did then. He could have kept pulling away from me just then. Now I love that he licked his lips. So sometimes I'll leave the rope on the ground, like I've got the tail of the rope on the ground like this. Sometimes I coil it up. Anytime I can leave it on the ground, I don't mind that, because it just gets the horse used to seeing something on the ground. Okay, but sometimes I coil it up. It just depends on the situation. Like if I think that the rope on the ground is really bothering the horse to where it's taking away from what I'm trying to teach him, then I'll coil it up. But if I feel like the rope on the ground is not really causing him that big of a problem, oh, I love that. Right there. Pressure, hold it, get ready, release it. Good boy. This is all new for him. So I'm working on two things: getting his hindquarters to disengage, getting him to give me two eyes. Well, not just two things, kind of several things. I'm working on getting in closer to him, to where the bubble that he'll let me in gets smaller. But do you notice I'm never walking straight up to him? I'm not even remotely trying to go to his head. I'm going to his butt, because his butt is the secret to getting his head. Okay? Yeah. Kind of use my weight against it. There. I'm going to try to stay on this left side just a little bit more. Doesn't seem as good. There we go. There we go. I try to acknowledge every little try in the beginning. Pressure. There we go. Pressure. There we go. This is a little closer here, isn't it? Good boy. Go back in this way. Anytime I can get that rope up on the side of his face, I'll use it, because he's got to get used to that halter being up on his face like this. See, like that there? Get him used to that. He's yielding his hindquarters better this way, isn't he? Oh, I love that. Let him have a little rest. Do you notice that whenever I rest him, I always face away from him? I never stand there with my shoulders facing his head. Now he's kind of getting to where he's doing what I want, is that he's in the center of the round pen and I'm on the outside. That's what we're looking for. When he's on the outside, oh, I love that. I didn't like that though, how he left. Didn't like that how he left. Yeah, release. That's a boy. Go to that hindquarters. The secret to a wild horse is getting that hindquarters broke loose. See how he got ahead of me? So I pulled on him. I might even go back this way and shape him up this way. There we go. Getting a little closer here, aren't we? All the time I'm doing this, I'm constantly kind of pushing that limit of what he'll allow me to get in here. Pressure. 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 There. Good boy, I like that. Just lick your lips. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Now I'm going to give him another little break for just a few minutes and just let him just digest this just a tad bit. Anytime I can give him a little rest and let him digest the thought, I feel like they come back better when you go to work with them again. One thing I've noticed, mate, when working with a wild horse or a horse that's very frightened, is you can't work on one exercise so much that you just keep drilling and drilling and drilling, because the more you work on it, the more you're acting like a predator and the more reactive and kind of snotty and snorty they get at you, where they don't want to get near you. So I've kind of worked on his hip a little bit both directions and got him to give me two eyes and loosen up his hip. He's not great at it, but I think he understands the basic concept. I'd like to give him a little bit of a break on that for a while, okay? So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and move him around the round pen again. But just let this rope, see if I can get this rope to do some desensitizing with him. Just kind of swinging it around like this, Okay, not only this is going to take a bit of air out of him, so that way when I let him rest again, he'll really think that's a great reward for him. Okay, so just kind of like we did before, let it go around the back of him here. Okay, I'll put it up under their tail like that. You know, it's kind of tradition in Australia to break a horse in with a cropper. You know, a leather strap up under their tail, stop the saddle slipping forward when you ride up and down hills a lot. Okay, well, this is desensitize them to it. And he's kicking at it. You notice that most of the time I'm just holding onto the rope with one hand. I'm not even really pulling on it. Okay, and they'll kick at it like he is because he's trying to get rid of it. Pressure, pressure. When he kicks, I'm holding it. There, when he trots, I'll release it. Okay, and I'll hold it. Pressure, pressure, pressure. He's kicking. He's kicking. There, and then I'll release it. The worst thing you could do is let go of the rope when he's kicking. He can't really hurt anything. They might kick the rail a couple of times, but they quickly figure out that's the smartest thing to do. There we go. I like that. I love it anytime he walks like that too. Anytime he walks and kind of ignores me, I let him. Now I love that. He thought about kicking up then and he didn't. So then I might change directions. See how he turned in? And I've got to get this rope used to touching all over his body. He's never had the rope around the front of his chest here, has he? Okay. So really, there's no real rhyme or reason. I just keep changing directions, and every time I change directions, I just let him get hooked up in it. Okay, it's never going to cause him any rope burn because two things, I'm not pulling hard enough. Now, I love what he did there. See how he got it around his back leg there? Okay. He's got to get used to me touching his legs. Well, guess what? We're getting him ready for the farrier right now. I bet that farrier's glad. Okay, but again, I'm not holding on to it hard. I'm just letting him wear it. You know, it's like when you put something on a horse for the first time, they are not going to like it like this. Now, I guarantee that if today was the first day we put a mane and tail on this horse, he would kick at his tail, he'd kick at his mane, he'd strike, but he was born with his mane and tail, and so he's used to wearing it. I love what he just did then. He just turned and faced me. So I'm going to back off him a little bit here. Even though I didn't want him to turn and face me, I want him to think he's outsmarting me. I want him to think, you know what, this guy's not real bright. All I got to do is turn and give him two eyes and relax and he'll back off. Now I'll go move him again, but in this beginning stage, I never want to discourage him from giving me two eyes, okay? I don't want to make him feel wrong for it, okay? Other things you can do is I'll flip it forward like that. Oh, missed it. And just get it around his back legs. Around his front legs. Okay. Just move it all around. That's it. Change directions. Love that. Get it around his front legs. Up between his back legs. This is a real tickly spot for him. A lot of them don't like it between their back legs like this either. If you're giving them rope burn when you do this, you're pulling way too hard. Okay. See how I'm letting that rope slide through my hand? This is why you use a 45-foot rope, because I don't want to have it jerked out of my hand. See him kicking at it? He's saying, what have I got to do to get rid of this rope? And you know what the answer is? Ignore it. There. Just let him get two eyes and let him have a little rest for a minute and I'll do some more of it. So I like what's starting to happen with this horse now. He's not getting as bothered about the stuff around him. He's starting to walk a lot more, starting to relax. I can flip this rope around him just a little bit and he's not overreacting the way that he was. Okay, I'm not saying he's perfect by any means. See, I like that. He's a little bit worried here. Let's see what he does. Ah, that's kind of neat. He didn't overreact and kick at it, did he? There. Okay. So I'm really touching him right now, but he don't even know it. I'm touching him, but he don't know it. Okay, I'm just getting him used to stuff touching his body, swinging around his head without him really being aware of it. Okay. Oh, I like that. A little bit worried there. See how he sped up? Notice I let that rope slide through my hand, don't I? I like to change directions with them. This is why I do get them changing directions so well, and get them, let them just kind of get themselves wrapped up a little bit. A little bit of resistance there. A little bit of resistance. As long as there's resistance there, I'm going to keep letting him trot around and wear it until he relaxes. Ah, that's an interesting little contraption. I don't like it when it gets around their back legs. The reason I do this is for a couple of different things. I can get some of the excess energy off them and get some of that little bit of snot out of them and spook out of them from a long distance away, and I'm not worried about getting hurt. Second of all, it gets them used to things touching their body. I've got to eventually touch his leg. I've got to eventually touch under his belly with my hand. I've got to eventually touch all the places this rope is touching. But by using the rope, I'm not in any danger. And at the same time, he's not really in any danger because he's not going to get hung up to where he's going to flip over backwards or choke himself down or anything like that. I love that. See him just walking there? Yeah, now I might retreat and loosen up a little bit. And then pick up. I love that. And then retreat. And now, wow, I didn't like that, how he kind of kicked this then. Okay. And then when I go back to working on my leading, the leading seems easy compared to this. And now I'll have little fits like he's having a little fit now, isn't he? I don't want that rope right there. It's funny, that rope will just touch him in a little bit different area and they won't like it. They won't like it. Shh, 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 shh. I want to keep that rope there because he's kicking. I want to try my best not to have that rope come off his leg until he relaxes, like even there, just trot. See how I let it drop off? Rightio. So what I was saying is they'll go through little fits where they'll do good, and then they'll have a little fit, and then they'll do good, then a little fit. So I'm going to start coiling this rope up a little bit more now and go back to my leading again. Because what I'm trying to do is get him to give me two eyes and get up to where I can touch him. But I've got to keep working on this hindquarters here. That's it. Got to loosen up that hindquarters. Pull and release on that rope. Pressure. Good boy. Release it. When I tap that rope on my leg, it's kind of like I'm driving pressure, just like I had the stick. Okay. Let's just say he was a yearling and he'd never been touched. I'd pretty much do everything the same. I probably wouldn't do the rope around his legs like I'm doing to him, but you know, they're probably not going to be as wild as what he is. There we go, but it wouldn't hurt to do it to him. Yeah. Pull it and release it. Pull it, there, release it. Pull it, pull it. Pressure, 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 pressure. There. I need it to, there, swing away. This is his weak side. Pressure, pressure. I'm pressuring this hindquarters. I'm pulling on the rope at the same time. Wrong answer, the right answer. He's got to realize turning and facing me. There. Good boy. Is the right answer. You're going to hear me say this a million times over the course of this DVD series. Horses do not learn from pressure, they learn from the release. Get smart about where you release it. The better you are at releasing pressure, the faster your horses will catch on. Now, as I'm working on his hip, there, I'm getting closer to him all the time. Do you notice that time when he looked at me, I also walked away, like that there. And eventually that'll turn into leading us a couple of steps, but not right now it won't. I just gotta get this hindquarters loosened up. See how now I'm approaching? I'm using a little approach and retreat right now. Approaching, there. Now when he gives me two eyes, I retreat. I'm just practicing getting that bubble of his to shrink. That bubble that he's protective of himself. There. And back out. Ah, there's a couple little steps right there. Gotta get that hindquarters loosened up. There, see that outside leg? Now what I'm gonna start to do now is I'm gonna pull on that rope when I spiral out, and as soon as I see that right front foot start to step forward a little bit, I'm gonna release the pressure. Pressure, there it is. See that? Release. I'm gonna go in first, yield his hindquarters. This is how you get them leading. Go in here, yield their hindquarters first, get them disengaging, and then spiral out. But see, when I spiral, I got pressure on this rope. Pressure, pressure, pressure. I'm not going to release it. Pressure, pressure on this rope, because he's backing up. Pressure. Okay. Pressure, pressure. I might have to go back to his hindquarters again. If it doesn't seem to be working out for me, I'll go back to my hindquarters again. Get that loosened up. Get that loosened up. That's where the power is. Get that loosened up. That's the first time I've faced him with my shoulders square. Just got to get used to that, looking at that. Change sides, change brains. There, nearly there. See that left front foot step forward. So I'm working on several things here. Loosen that hindquarters up. Loosen that hindquarters up. See how I've got that rope on the side of his face? Just getting him used to that just a little bit there. Now I'm going to spiral out. Watch his left front foot. Left front foot. I'm going to let it slide through my hand. Let it slide. There it is. Release. That's the beginning of leading right there. Yield the hindquarters. You slap your rope on your leg if you have to encourage it to move. A little driving pressure. Get that hindquarters. Now it's loosened up. Now watch. There's one step. Let it slide through my hand so I'm not so close to him. Slide through my hand. I'm holding it here. I'd like to get him to just, there it is, right there, step forward. Now I'm going to go back to this side again. So never once have I walked up to his head yet, have I? I'm doing everything but going to his head. Doing everything but going to his head. There, release. I like the fact that he cocked his leg that time when I released it. He's in the center of the round pen. I'm kind of right there. I was too busy gabbing, but right then he kind of stepped towards me and my timing was off. I was too busy talking. I should have walked away right then. Anytime he steps towards me, I got to move away. Okay. I'm going to spiral away. There, release. Watch his right front foot. Get ready. There, release. Pick up. Yeah, he's backing up. He's resisting. So if he's resisting, what's that mean? There, release. Go back to his hindquarters again. I was starting to go back into his hindquarters and he just stepped forward. Oh, I love what he's doing here. See that there? How I retreated away. Okay. Get those hindquarters loosened up. I'm not even looking at his head. It's all about that. There, release. Release again. People try to get up to their head when they're wild. Get them good at their butt. Release. I'm getting a lot closer to him, aren't I? And he don't even hardly realize that I'm getting close. Spiral away, there's a step. Hold that pressure. There's a step right there. He came forward. Yield the hindquarters. Yield the hindquarters. See, if without getting that hindquarters yielded, he can drag me off my feet. That's why it's important to get that part loosened up. There we go. There's 3 little steps right there. Good boy. He's doing great. One, 2, 3. See those 3 little leading steps just there? You might say, well, come on, that didn't look like much. Well, hell, he's 4-year-old. He don't know anything about this. We're going to start little. Let him build up to it. There. There's a step. Oh, yeah, I love that. There's a step. Oh, here you go, you freak of nature. Good boy. There. There. So now I'm going to change it just a little bit on him. Now I like what happened just then. He got scared and he jumped, didn't he? He thought about running and busting away from me, and then he just came back to me. There, look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing here. I'm spiraling away. He stepped towards me, like right here. There we go. Spiral away. There. When he offers to step forward, you better be offering to walk away. Here it is. See it coming right now? Here it is. He's stuck. Go back to the hindquarters. Get in close. Get in close to that hindquarters. Yield that hindquarters. Now spiral out. See me going? 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4, 5, 6. Good boy. This would be a neat little place to give him just a little rest here. Just for a couple minutes, just let him digest the thought. You know, that's a lot of it, is approach and retreat. And then I'm going to come back after a couple minutes and see if I can start touching him. Okay, mate, well, we've given him about a half an hour break now, just to kind of think about things for a while. I was originally just going to give him a couple of minutes, and we decided to have a bit of a lunch break, and it never hurts to give a horse a chance just to digest a lesson. So now when I come back, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to add my stick to the scenario, okay, because horses notice any small little change. So I'm going to bring the stick into the play, so it's another tool that he's got to learn to not worry about, and I'm going to use the stick to eventually start touching him with it, to where it's not so dangerous for me to touch you with my hand. Okay, I'm going to pull on him here, release, pull, release, pull, pull, release, pull. 2 eyes, there we go. So you can already tell he knows something's a little bit different. I'm going to go back and loosen up this hindquarters. Okay, loosen up this hindquarters. Loosen up that hindquarters. Loosen up that hindquarters. Release. 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 There we go. So I want to go back now. Get this hindquarters. Hold it. Release. There, release. And it's funny, just because I've introduced a new tool, you can tell he's a little spooky again. Just like right here. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Release it when he gives me two eyes. Hold it, release it, hold it, release it. Just the fact that I've introduced a new piece of equipment, he is on the defensive again. Horses notice every small little change. Hold it, release it there. I saw that inside hind leg just step over just a fraction. There it is. I kind of like what he's doing here though, coming towards me like that. So right now I'm not really doing anything but kind of holding the stick. So I need to go back and get his hindquarters broke loose. I'm going to use my weight a little bit on this rope. There we go. I kind of feel like I've lost a little bit of hindquarter on him, so there, release. One thing about these wild Mustangs, horses are stronger than us, but here's a little tip. Unless you tell them, they don't know. So I don't want him to get in a habit of knowing he can overpower me. So I want to, there, release. I want him there it is, release. So for right now, I might have to just drop the stick and just go back and review the lesson. There we go. Anytime I have to step back and rebuild his confidence, nothing wrong with that. Release. So I kind of put this rope behind my butt and kind of use it. Pressure, 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 release. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. So even though he overpowered me there a little bit, I didn't let go of that rope there. I didn't take the pressure off until he'd given me two eyes. So I've just got to go back and reteach this again. There it is. Good boy. There it is. I'm going to go back to the other side. Oh, I like that. See how he's walking towards me now? Walk away. Anytime they offer, see, like right here, if they offer to walk towards you, you walk away. If they get stuck, whoop, there. So he's leading a little bit better on that right side, isn't he? And now we got there he stepped towards me. Timing was a little bit slow just then. Timing's everything with these wilder horses. It's important with all horses, but especially wild ones. There's one step, 1, 2, 3, there we go. It's even more important with them when they're wild. There, there. So I always go into his hindquarters first. Hindquarters, there we go. And then spiral out as they loosen up their feet. His feet are stuck again. So I'm going to go back and loosen them up. There it goes. And now spiral out. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Good boy. So I want to start to get up to where I can touch him a little bit here now. But instead of trying to touch him with my hand, oh, I like that. Good boy. I'm going to start to see if I can touch him with the stick a little bit and kind of wean him onto that hand. There. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Good boy. That's a boy. Okay, now I've got him thinking again. Let's pick up the stick and see if I can just carry it without him getting too upset about it. Mustangs, they will notice if you tie your shoelaces a different way. They will snort at you. They're extremely observant. Extremely observant. Hindquarters. There, step towards me. Walk away. I just want to spend a little bit of time just pulling him off balance a little bit here, making sure that he'll give me 2 eyes, because as I approach him, there we go, he's going to want to turn and run at different times. So I need to make sure that when I pull on that rope, he's good about it. Now I like what happened just then. He got scared, but you notice as soon as he jumped away and he felt pressure around his neck, he gave me 2 eyes, didn't he? That's a good sign that, I didn't really even have to pull that hard. Rightio. So now what I'm going to do is just see if I can just get him to just accept this stick near him. This stick is really my hand. I'm just using it as my hand. Now even though he kind of pulled away from me right then and kind of got relief a little bit, which wasn't good, I immediately tried to put a little bit of pressure on him up under his tail, make him realize that being away from me, that's not that good either. There we go. It's not that fun being away from me. If you want to be on the outside of the round pen, you're going to have to move those feet. You're going to have to move those feet now. You're going to have to move those feet. It's not that fun. There, now he's relaxing a little bit. Kicking again. Hold it. Okay. Hold it. Hold it. There. Okay. Let's start that again. Except this time I'm not going to have the rope coiled up. So if he goes to run, I'm not going to, I can let it slide through my hand a little bit, but he can't get away from me. There we go. That was kind of a little bit of my trouble, as I had a coil. It got stuck around my hand a little bit and I had to drop the rope. There we go. That's it. That's it. There we go. Go back to his hindquarters. I'm not trying to touch him with it just yet. I just like to get it to where I can just hold it around his face. And he just, if you look at it, I'd retreat. See here, pressure, release. Pressure, pressure, release. pressure, release. I'll use my butt as a little bit of an anchor there if they start getting too much leverage on me. Release, release, release. There we go. There we go. Pressure, release. Pressure, pressure. It's tightening around his neck. There, release. There, that's what I'm looking for right there. That's the first time he's just stood still and let me hold the stick up a little bit. Now, instead of approaching towards his head, I'm going to go back to his hip again. Loosen that hip up. I'd love it if he'd smell it. There, you kind of see how he stretched his nose out just then? And I retreated. Got to be a little bit careful when that rope's on the ground that they pressure, release. But they don't spook away from the rope on the ground and kick it or kick you. So be a little aware of that. And use the stick to help his hindquarters yield. See how he's kind of looking at that rope on the ground just slightly? Pressure, I'm using the stick. There, just like it was the end of the lariat when I slapped my leg with it. Pressure, pressure, there, pressure, pressure, there. That's a boy. Might move it around just a little bit. Isn't it funny, just having that rope up beside their face, you get a lot more leverage on him. See how this way he doesn't pull on me as much? So as soon as I can get a halter on him, now I like that what he's doing there. See how he's following me here? So again, I'll always overrule what I'm doing if he walks towards me. I'm just trying to find a starting point where he'll let me move the stick around without getting frightened. There we go. Yeah. Now that's a lot closer, isn't it? Pressure, 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 pressure. As soon as he keeps his head still, I'm just desensitizing the airspace around him a little bit here. Right there, he kept his head still, I'll retreat. And this is where you need to be a little bit careful there. See how that rope's around his back end, but he doesn't react and run away from that and run over you. I'm just desensitizing the airspace around him. When he keeps his head still, I'll retreat. Right there, see how he touched it? He kind of half, I don't know if he nipped at it, but he certainly touched it. So again, I'll walk away from him. Anytime he does something like that and he offers it, even if he would have bit it, I still would have taken it away. I would have rather that than him jump away from it. Okay, I'm just moving it around the airspace around him. Yield that hindquarters. Never hurts to yield the hindquarters. So I'm still working on my leading exercise. Now right there, he just touched it again. Take it away. Notice I'm getting kind of close to him now. I know my elbow's not far from his head here. And I just touched down his face with it. I'm going to leave before he leaves me. If I think he's going to jump away in 6 seconds, I'm going to leave in 5. There, I just scratched him with it for just 2 or 3 little scratches, walk away, retreat. I'm going to stay on this side of him a lot more because he's not as good on this side, plus I spend a little bit more time on their left side than anything when I first start getting up to him, because I got to get that halter on. Usually whatever side you start on is the side they get a little one-sided on, and if you start on that right side, oh, I like the way he was leading just then. They get to be a bit of a pain in the neck when it comes to getting that halter on and getting that knot done up. Okay. But every single time I do this, do you notice he's leading out just a little bit better? See here? Now I've got to be careful when I rub him with the stick. I try not to touch his wounds on his head. He's busted his head open when we picked him up because he ran into the fence, and then he's busted it open again when he tried to jump the fence this morning. So I want to try my best not to open the wound up anymore or hurt it. I don't want to give him a reason to. Right now he's scared of me through reputation, meaning that he thinks I'm going to get him. I don't want to prove to him I am going to get him by hurting him. That's a boy. So here's my hand right now, I'm rubbing his face. Good boy. Okay, and then just retreat. Go back to their rear end again. Come back and do it again. That's a boy. This is my hand, the stick is nothing more. You see how he's being a little reactive here, he's backing up. I'm going to try my best to stay stuck to him here until he relaxes. I don't want to take this pressure away, the stick away, until he keeps his feet still and he relaxes. Ah, I like that just there. That was the first rub on the side of his face. Now by walking away from him like this, it also improves his draw. Draw is the ability for him to come up to me. Drive is the horse's ability to get away from you. Well, you ever notice Mustangs have got a lot of drive, haven't they? They try and get away. Rub him. There, that's the first time he's let me scratch him like that. I'm going to see if I can yield the hindquarters. There it goes. Yield the hindquarters. There it goes. Spiral out. And now I'm rubbing him with my hand, but it's just on the end of the stick. And as he gets a little quieter, I'm going to slowly start sliding my hand up that stick. But now I'm going to start using the stick to drive my horse a little bit now. Drive that hindquarters. See it moving around? This is yield the hindquarters stage 1 with a wild horse. And spiral out. That's it, boy. This is the trickiest part to a wild horse. This part right here, getting them to where they'll let you touch them. And two things usually happen. They either do really well and you don't run into a lot of trouble. See, like right here. Okay, I'm gonna get out in front of him here, there. That's a boy, walk away, walk away. He's offering it to me, take it. Okay, it either goes really well or it kind of goes bad. And if it goes bad, it's like, then it's just not good, because then they start, what are you jumping at, you silly thing? Then they start spooking at the halter and playing that whole cat and mouse game. You can't touch me, you can't catch me. Okay, that's a boy, that's a boy. I'm kind of rubbing him with the stick on the side of his face. That's a boy. So it's very important that this first session part here goes pretty good. What you don't want to do is every time they jump away from you, let him get away with that pressure. Let nothing happen to him. If he jumps away, I want to be able to tighten up on that rope, or at least do something to him to make him feel uncomfortable. And then when he gives you two eyes, see, like right here, pressure, pressure, release. Pressure, pressure, release. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. See here, got it on the side of his face. I just used the stick to block him just there. See what I'm doing here? Pressure. Oh, I'm kind of strong. Pressure, release. Pressure, release. Pressure, pressure, release. That's a boy. If I find that they're playing a little bit of cat and mouse with me, I'll go move the stick around a little bit more vigorously, like this. And then I make rubbing look easy. That's a boy. That's a boy. Want to rub on the side of their face a little bit here. Get them used to that. See, I can block them a little bit with the use of the stick. See, I can reach out here, then I can reach over here, and reach over here, reach over here. Pick up. Got pressure on the rope. Even though he's pulling through me, I still didn't release it. That's probably the most important thing. Even if they overpower you, as long as you didn't release the rope, they didn't get away with anything. There we go. That's a boy. So what I start doing now is I just start sliding my hand further up the rope, up the stick, sorry. Just start getting it to where I'm not so far away from him until eventually my hand is what's touching him, not the rope. I'm going to start doing that now. Start getting in a little closer here. Good boy. That was a really good one. Retreat. I do like what he's doing here though. Every time I retreat and walk away, he's getting quicker about it. Notice that he's getting quicker about following me. So now I don't have to yield his hindquarters quite so much. That's a boy. That's a boy. And even if I have to start rubbing his imaginary head to begin with, okay, if they're really spooky and they won't let you touch them, rub their imaginary head. Imagine he's got a really big thick head right now. Okay? And I'm scratching his imaginary head. And now his head's shrinking until eventually I can touch his real head. Again, if you think he's going to jump away in 5 seconds, you pull away in 4 or 3. Yield the hindquarters and walk away. Scratch that imaginary head. See, I'm still scratching that imaginary head right now. Even though he's kind of backing away from me, I still want to be, I don't want him thinking that what got rid of the stick. That didn't get rid of my hand. Now that's what's going to get rid of my hand, standing still like that. That's the secret. If you want me to let go of you, get the stick away from you, that's how you do it. That's a boy. You see how he's kind of shaking his head a little bit? They'll do some stuff like that. Just kind of ignore that. And then retreat. Spiral away. That's a boy. Go ahead. Rub them. See how I'm starting to slide my hand up the stick just a little bit here. Yield that hindquarters. Get that hindquarters to disengage. Spiral out. Good boy. See, by the time I get the halter on, he's already got a decent idea how to lead. Good boy. Hands going further up the stick. Yield the hindquarters. Spiral. They get kind of smart about it to where they realize if they just walk towards you, you won't yield their hindquarters. That's not a bad problem to have. If they get a little snorty like this, just try not to be sneaky. Keep rubbing them. But I'm rubbing his imaginary head. I'm rubbing his imaginary head right now. Rubbing his imaginary head. It's a big, thick head. See, I'm rubbing him right between his eyes right now. Okay, rubbing him right between his eyes. Okay, right here. That's it. Now I love that how he kind of cocked his leg. That was good. Now I will kind of keep my eyes on him at the corner of the back of my eyes. If he was a Mustang stud, wild stud, sometimes they might try and bite you when you walk away from them because they're trying to dominate you, okay? So as I walk away, I will kind of look at the corner of my back, you know, look over my shoulder a little bit there and see, just double check that they're not being aggressive about what's happening. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while you'll get one that thinks he's pretty clever. That's a boy. See my hand moving closer up? Okay. Rubbing him on the side of the face. Good boy. If they would go to try to bite me or run over me when I'm walking away, I would drive them away from him, because if they're trying to bite you, they're trying to get your feet to move. So I would chase him away from me and move his feet. That's it. Now right now, when I'm getting in a little closer now, I want to be a little careful now about where I'm standing, especially now that I'm getting in closer to the horse, is I don't want to get so close to him that if he'd go to strike, he could get me. So Gordon always taught me, you know, don't stand directly in front of them when you're first touching them. Get around the side a little bit more, 45-degree angle to their shoulder. So that's what I'm going to start doing now. Okay, That's what I'm going to start doing now. Is just as I get my hand up towards him, see my hand's getting closer, rubbing his big fat head, imaginary big head. See, I'm rubbing it right now. Now he's figured out that I've got closer, hasn't he? See that just there? He's like, you know what? You seem to be a lot closer than what you were just a few minutes ago. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this. Okay? And I'm like, no, you must be mistaking me from somebody else. I'm doing exactly what I was doing before. Oh, I love that. See how he just kind of reached out and smelt me right then? That's a great place to retreat. So again, I want to try to get around the side a little bit. I don't want to be directly in front of him. And sometimes they'll get a little pushy with their head. Just keep going until they keep their head still. Now that time my left finger just kind of rubbed him down in front of his nose a little bit. Okay, so that was a starting point with my hand. I'm going to wean off the stick onto the hand. There again. Pressure. I'm still rubbing his head, can't you? See me rubbing his head here? Big fat imaginary head. Big imaginary head right now. I don't want him thinking that running away got rid of this. There we go. Rubbed him with my finger again. Two eyes, please. Notice my shoulders are facing away. Okay. He's saying, you know what, there's something different about that glove of yours from that stick. I didn't mind that stick, but there's something different about that glove. They notice every small little change. Hindquarters, spiral out. Try not to just have a dead pull when I spiral out either. I kind of pull and release a little bit. Rub him, rub him, rub him, rub him, rub. See how he's kind of biting at the stick here a little bit? I just ignore that. I don't want to hit him there. Most people would make a mistake right there and wanting to hit him when he went to bite at the stick. He's just trying some stuff. He's just trying to figure out, I wonder what'll get rid of that stick. I wonder if spooking will get rid of it. No, that didn't seem to work. I wonder if biting it, that might work. If I was to slap him right there or hit him with it, I'd ruin his confidence. Okay, what he's did there, that would just take care of itself over time. Okay, that would just take care of itself with time. There we go. Scratch the imaginary head first. There, now I'm rubbing him with my glove a little bit more. Keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing. He's trying to figure out what it's going to take to get rid of this hand. Keep rubbing, keep rubbing. That ain't it. Don't nip at me. Don't nip at me. Don't nip at me. Just don't nip at me. Ah, that's what gets rid of the hand. Have a cigarette, fall asleep, read Black Beauty. Okay? So now I'm just going to go to my hand now. And I'm going to rub. See me rubbing his imaginary head right now? I'm just going to go back and re-establish a new starting point. There. I'm going to come in, yield his hindquarters, spiral out. See how I'll kind of pull and then release on the rope. See how he's stuck here a little bit? Anytime they get stuck, what do? Go back to their hindquarters until they loosen up their front feet. Okay? I pretend the stick's in my hand. I love that. He just kind of reached his nose out to smell me. Okay? That's a good starting point. I'm a little more in front of him than what I'd like to be. He's walking towards me. What am I doing? Walking away. Yeah, I like that. If you can't touch them, touch the airspace around them first. There. There. Pressure. There we go. Pull it, release it. Good boy. Good boy. Now if he really grabbed a hold of me and bit me, I would go drive his feet away, but most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time, they're just trying to see what they can do to get rid of you. If you find that, it's kind of hard to explain. If they know that you're trying to get up to them too much and get that halter on, then you start acting too much like a predator and they start getting real hawky about it and kind of spooky about it. Always go back and put it in conjunction. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Always go back and do it in conjunction with yielding the hindquarters and leading. There, retreat. That way, you're not being sneaky about it, but you're just not being boldly obvious about it. There. Okay. Every time I pressure, pressure, there, release. Go back to his hindquarters. Rub that imaginary head. I'm rubbing it right now. Pressure, pressure, release. Go back to his hindquarters. Good boy. That's a boy. This is the hardest part, isn't it? Hardest part is getting that hands on them. Once you get your hands on them a little bit, pressure. He pulled away from me, but he didn't win because I didn't release the pressure. And then not only that, I went up and yelled his hindquarters. Do something to move his feet. So again, I want to be careful that I don't rub where he's sore on his face. He's got that cut on his face, and he's got some hair off the other, on this other side. Release. 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 Get that hindquarters. Here we go. Here we go.